Hey there, today I'm going to be showing you 5 new dinner ideas, and these are not just your average dinners because these are pantry staple dinners. So what that means is typically with all of these meals, I like to keep all of the ingredients on hand either in my pantry or my refrigerator or freezer just to whip up these recipes in no time at all on busy nights. So I hope you enjoy it, and let's go get to cooking. To kick us off today, we are making these chicken tacos, and some of the staples that we're using are first being canned goods, a can of Rotel and black beans. I love keeping a few cans of Rotel and black beans on hand just because they go really well in recipes. Next, I keep chicken on hand all the time, mainly in the freezer. And then these taco shells are perfect to keep in your pantry just because they last quite a while and they're a crowd pleaser. Taco seasoning, cheese, and an avocado. Now let's get right into this recipe. So to my 9x13 baking dish, I'm adding 1 pound of cubed chicken breast right in there, along with a tablespoon of olive oil and 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning. Coat the chicken in the oil and the seasoning. Over the top of the chicken, I'm adding 1 can of drained and rinsed black beans. Next, a partially drained can of Rotel. This will bake in your oven preheated to 375 degrees for about 25 minutes or until the chicken's cooked. Now that the chicken's cooked in a separate 9x13 baking dish, I'm placing our taco shells right in there. I'm using the stand-up taco shells just to make everything quite a bit easier. Now we're going to begin to assemble our simple chicken tacos. So with my wooden slotted spoon, I'm just taking some of that chicken mixture and placing it inside each of the taco shells. You do want to make sure you do this with a slotted spoon just to remove any liquid from the chicken mixture because we don't want soggy tacos. I sprinkled Mexican style cheese over the top, and this baked in the oven for an additional 15 minutes. Here is my plate of food. I topped my tacos with plenty of guacamole, sour cream, cilantro, and lime, but you could top yours with whatever you love. These are packed full of flavor, and we just love the simplicity of them. Now we're making these Italian-style meatball subs. Here are some of the ingredients that we typically like to try to keep on hand. Breadcrumbs or panko breadcrumbs I like to keep on hand just because they have an extremely long shelf life and you could throw them in so many different recipes. Eggs, we always have eggs on hand. Next, hoagie rolls, or you could use any type of bread you'd like for this recipe. And then marinara sauce. It's very inexpensive, and again, it has a super duper long shelf life. So always keep that on hand. And then Parmesan cheese and frozen ground beef. To get this recipe started, I threw my 1 pound of ground beef into my mixing bowl. Next, add in your 1 egg along with 3 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese, a half a cup of Italian style breadcrumbs, and then for the seasonings, this is quite a bit of seasonings, but they're so flavorful. A teaspoon of dried oregano and basil, half a teaspoon of onion and garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and pepper. Mix this all together. Now that we're through combining our meatball mixture, I am going to be rolling these into little meatballs. You could roll them into whatever size you like. I made about 15 total. Over to the pan on my stove, I have about 2 tablespoons of hot olive oil in there. I added my meatballs in and I browned them on each side. You do not need to cook them through at this point, just brown them because they will continue to cook. Here in a minute, you just wait and see. But now that our meatballs are browned, I'm removing any excess grease in the pan just with a spatula and a paper towel. I find that this little trick works really well for this recipe. But now into the same pan that we browned the meatballs, I'm adding 2 cups of our marinara sauce, and I'm going to put the lid on top and let this simmer for about 15 minutes. This will completely cook our meatballs through. While our meatballs are simmering, we're going to prepare our hoagie rolls. So I have about 4 hoagie rolls right here. I cut them open and I'm spraying the inside of them with avocado oil spray, or you could use butter or any oil. I placed them under my broiler to get nice and crispy. Now that they're crispy and my meatballs are cooked through, I'm placing about 3 to 4 meatballs with the sauce inside of each of the hoagie rolls. Then I placed plenty of mozzarella cheese over the top. I put this under my broiler for a couple of minutes to melt the cheese. Here's dinner ready to enjoy. These meatball subs are some of the best meatball subs I've ever had, I promise. The meatballs are packed full of flavor and they're not dry at all. The bread is perfectly crisp and you can't go wrong with mozzarella cheese. I served it with a side salad with tomatoes, lettuce, carrots, and ranch. Now we're making these taco stuffed shells. This recipe's delicious. It always impresses me. So the first ingredient we have here is Fiesta blend cheese. I always keep cheese on hand in the refrigerator, or you could put it in your freezer to last longer. Next, these jumbo shells. I like to buy pasta from my grocery store when it goes on sale like this, so I always have pasta on hand. It lasts quite a while to just keep it in your pantry. Next, taco seasoning. I buy the big container like this, either from Costco or Walmart, and it lasts our family like 6 months, so it is a great buy. Next, salsa. Salsa is nutritious and it's one of those pantry staples that will last in your pantry for months and months. Next, enchilada sauce. Enchilada sauce is full of flavor, and again, it's an item that will last for quite a while. And then cream cheese and ground beef. Let's get this recipe started. Over to the big pan on my stove, I added in my 1 pound of ground beef. I'm breaking the ground beef up and I'm going to cook it through. While the ground beef is cooking away, over to my large pot of boiling water, I'm going to add about 16 to 20 of these jumbo shells in, and I'm going to cook them according to the box instructions. Now that my ground beef has cooked through, I removed any excess grease from the pan. Then I added in a cup of salsa along with 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning. I gave this a really good stir. Then I added in 1/4 cup of water. I let this simmer on my stove for a few minutes. Once it was through simmering, I added in my 4 tablespoons of cream cheese that I cubed. I gave this a really good stir to melt the cream cheese down. Now we're going to begin to assemble our stuffed shells. So I greased my 9x13 baking dish with nonstick spray. Now I'm adding in half of the can of enchilada sauce. I spread it out evenly. Now I'm grabbing each of the shells and I'm scooping about a scoop of the taco mixture right in there. I'm using a cookie scoop to make it easier. Drizzle the top of the shells with the remaining enchilada sauce, then sprinkle about a cup of Mexican-style cheese over the top. This is going to bake in a preheated oven to 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. We like to top ours with whatever taco toppings we have on hand, so on this night we did sliced avocado, sour cream, cilantro, and lime. These are packed full of flavor and kind of a fun twist on regular tacos. Now we're making this $1 million spaghetti, and the ingredients that we're using for this one today are, of course, first being spaghetti noodles. You'll need about 1 pound of them, and like I said previously, any type of pasta is great to keep on hand. Then a jar of marinara sauce. Like I said previously, I always try to keep a few jars of this marinara sauce on hand. It's a wonderful pantry staple. Then you'll need mozzarella cheese, ricotta cheese. Ricotta is not a pantry staple for me. I had to buy that one. You'll also need cream cheese and sausage. I always try to keep 1 of these pounds of sausage in my freezer. You'll also need an onion and garlic. I've been using this type of garlic recently and I really like it. To get this recipe started, over to my pot on the stove, I have a tablespoon of hot olive oil in there. Then I added my diced onion, a tablespoon of minced garlic, and my 1 pound of sausage. Break the sausage up and cook it through at this point. While our sausage is cooking away, we're going to begin on the cheese mixture. So to this bowl, I added a cup of ricotta cheese, next 8 ounces of softened cream cheese, a teaspoon of garlic powder, and a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. Stir this mixture to combine. Over to my pot of boiling water on the stove, I'm adding my 1 pound of spaghetti noodles right in there, and I'm going to cook them according to the box instructions. Now that our sausage is completely cooked, I'm adding in 2 cups of marinara sauce. Go ahead and stir this around to coat the sausage in the sauce. Now that we have our spaghetti noodles completely cooked, I am going to drain them, and then I added them back into the pot without the water, of course. I'm adding in the last cup of marinara sauce to the spaghetti noodles, and I'm coating the noodles in the sauce at this point. Over to my greased large casserole dish, or you could use a 9x13 baking dish. I added half of the spaghetti noodles right in there. Next, you are going to spread the cheesy mixture over the top of the noodles. After you're through spreading that cheesy mixture over the top of the noodles, you are going to add the other half of the spaghetti noodles right over the cheesy mixture. Then you are going to place the sausage mixture over the top of those noodles. Over everything, I'm adding about a cup and a half of mozzarella cheese. This will bake on 350 degrees for about 30 minutes. You definitely need to give this $1,000,000 spaghetti recipe a try. It's almost like a simple lasagna recipe, I could say. It has amazing, bold flavor. I served it alongside of a side salad with cherry tomatoes, avocado, and sliced cucumber with ranch. Now we're making this one pot chicken and rice dish. So to get this one started, you will need rice. My favorite type of white rice is actually jasmine rice, and I keep it in this container in my pantry. I'll link a similar container in my Amazon store for you, but I love it. It keeps my rice fresh. Next, you'll need minced garlic, butter. You could always put butter in the freezer to make it last longer. And then you'll need bouillon or broth. This is my favorite type of bouillon to buy because I just place it in my fridge. You'll need an onion, carrots, and let's get started. So I'm just going to begin by cutting up my carrots and my onion into smaller pieces. Now over to my big Dutch oven on the stove, I'm melting down 2 tablespoons of butter, and then I'm adding the onion and carrots, and I am going to soften them for about 4 to 5 minutes. Now that our veggies are soft, I'm adding in my 2 cups of rinsed, uncooked jasmine rice. Next, a tablespoon of minced garlic, and then our seasonings, about a teaspoon and a half of onion powder and garlic powder, a teaspoon of pepper, and a teaspoon of Lowry's seasoned salt. I really like the flavor of this seasoning. I'm giving this a really good stir to coat the seasoning in all of the ingredients. Now you're going to be adding in your 2 tablespoons of dried parsley with 8 cups of chicken broth. Bring this mixture up to a boil. Now that we have this boiling, you are going to add in your 1 pound of cubed chicken breast that you seasoned with salt and pepper. Give this a really good stir and let this simmer uncovered for about 15 to 18 minutes. You do want to stir it frequently though, just until the rice is tender and the chicken's cooked. So now that the rice is tender and our chicken's cooked, I added in an additional tablespoon of butter. I gave this a stir to let the butter melt down, then it was ready to serve. I topped mine with fresh parsley and black pepper, but while this is cooking, you could really make it your own by adding any other type of seasonings you enjoy, and this is a wonderful budget-friendly meal. I hope you enjoyed these meals today, and I would really love to have you here, so go ahead and subscribe down below the video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.